Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. To all my subscribers, I appreciate you guys. Keep staying, keep watching, keep enjoying, keep liking, subscribing, sharing, and hitting that notification bell. And most importantly, guys, may you please watch the ads as they support my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. I appreciate you. Well, you're in the right place because this is where we break down stories behind the headlines. Today's video is about one of the most controversial influencer and an apology of the year, who is Cyan Bougie. I'm going to break down her apology, like her first apology. I know, guys, I'm always late in terms of my analysis, but the upside is that I'm just trying to analyze, even if like I'm late with my analysis, but I'm trying to analyze and come from different angles and listen and hear and read what other people are saying online. So today we're going to be talking about Cyan Bush's response and involvement in the Alabuka saga. So after watching this response, guys, I need to hear from you from the comments to say, do you think it was a genuine apology, or was it a scripted damage control? And most importantly, what does it reveal about the power and responsibility that comes with having millions of followers? This isn't just about one apology, it's about how influence can cause harm and what real accountability should look like in the digital age. Let's unpack everything.
Program to actually release a statement on my behalf. And human trafficking is a very, very, very serious matter. And I do not stand with that. And I believe this is a huge learning curve for me and all the other influencers. And I don't think anyone with sense would repeat something like this. But I want you guys to know that it wasn't for money, because I haven't been paid yet. I had other videos to post. I think I had 4 more videos to post on my YouTube, on my TikTok, on my Instagram, and I was only going to get paid after posting. So it wasn't for money. I didn't get paid immediately when I saw the comments on my stories and on my videos that I posted, the first 2 videos that I posted on both my TikTok and my Instagram. I knew that this is not something I stand with. I knew that this is something I have to delete immediately. I don't care. I didn't care about the money or contract or saying we are humans and we make mistakes. And I think the positivity out of this is that the girls will be helped. That is the main thing that matters at this very moment. What I'm posting on my Instagram captions has nothing to do with what's happening. I'm actually very frustrated about this, and I wouldn't have involved myself in this if I knew. May everyone have a good day if they want. And I'm saying that because I understand how frustrated South Africa.
Hey, guys, I like the last part where she says, may everyone have a good day if they want. I mean, the situation is sensitive, and people is it the right way to say people are allowed to vent? Because this is a sensitive issue. Young girls between the age of 18 to 22 went to Russia, and someone is like, have a good day if you want. What about their families? What about their families, like who are worried about their children? Oh my God. Hi, Futi, wow. Okay, guys, I know maybe there's some new viewers who just came into my channel. Let me just give you a quick recap of what happened. So let's first rewind. So in mid 2025, that was at around, no, it was actually July and August. Between July and August, South African influencers, including Cyan Bougie, promoted a program called Alabuka Start, a Russian work study initiative, supposedly offering young women jobs, training, and language lessons in Tatarstan, Russia. But it wasn't it, allegedly. Allegedly is the big word here, guys. I mean, according to several social media platforms that I looked at, there are women who signed up, were allegedly trafficked into military drone factories, assembling weapons for Russia's war in Ukraine. This is all alleged. We're still yet to hear the full investigation and the official investigation and the results that we're going to get. And I'm hoping that the government is investing in getting all of this, and then we'll get the real and correct answers soon. So it's alleged that these women between the age of 18 to 22 live under surveillance and have their passport confiscated and are exposed to unsafe working environment. Because I think in one of the videos I heard Sain Buji saying that they work like 16 hours a day. I mean, for me, that's slavery, honestly. For young ladies like this, I don't know, guys. What do you think? In the comment sections. So as I mentioned before, I think in my other video, Sain Buji was one of the most visible South African influencers promoting the scheme. His social media posts painted Alabuka as a dream opportunity, beautiful dorms, safe jobs, and luxury travel. I mean, we saw their videos when the influencers like Sian, Bougie, Sima, Munaka, they went to Russia. I mean, they went on a trip and they painted all this as a dream opportunity. Everything looked good. And according to what they said everything was fine, everything looked good. And then the truth broke, and then the backlash came, and it was swift. So we watched Sain Buji's apologies and what she said. Let's talk about her apology, guys. She released a video. I mean, this video, I took it on TikTok. I'm not sure if she released a video from Instagram, and then comments were made. People were angry and they had a backlash. I mean, when she talked about her apology, she said that she was waiting for the agency to speak and say an apology, which is okay. I mean, it's warranted. All of us were waiting for the agency to come out and tell us, and tell us what they're going to do in terms of bringing out the girls. But also, we expected those influencers who came and influenced the young girls to go to Russia to come and say something. I mean, we needed that apology. And this is the apology that she gave us. I mean, she claimed that she was misled by the agency because they said everything was nice, and then they misled her to promote the Alabuka start, and then she had no idea that the program was linked to anything sort of exploitation in some of her apologies that she posted, not this one specifically. And she emphasized that she didn't receive the full payment. I mean, she was going to receive payment after, and it wasn't about the money. Oh, guys, what do you mean it wasn't about the money, Sayan? Because I mean, you were going to receive the money. Money is what motivated you. So for me, it actually shocks me that she says that it wasn't about the money. And then I also saw an apology by Usima. I mean, she was very apologetic and said that it's a huge learning curve, and she felt betrayed by the people who organized this Alabuka start and who had given her this job to promote, because she wished she had done more research, because she said that she did quick research. So she has learned that next time she needs to do all her due diligence. I mean, again, coming back to Sayan, and then she ends up by saying, no, have a good day if you want. Oh my God, for me, I felt like that was harsh, guys. Is it even reasonable? I'm shocked. But let's go deeper. So, the problem with Sian's apology, let's be honest, on the surface, I mean, she started well, she looked remorseful, but when you put it under the microscope, several issues pop up. I mean, she says that, I think it's Sima. I'm not sure about Sian. It should be Sima who said she didn't know. Is it enough, guys? I mean, that's not enough to come and tell people in your apology to say that you didn't know, because we've heard from most of these influencers. Munaka said the same thing. Sima said the same thing. I'm not sure about Zile. They said like, they didn't know. Is it enough, guys? But if you're being paid like 100,000 or more to endorse a program overseas, basic due diligence is expected. I mean, they were not promoting a hair product. They were encouraging people to leave the country and join a foreign education program in court. That's serious. And then again, no acceptance of consequences. I mean, these influencers should have never addressed the women who followed their advice. Not to mention their pain, their conditions, or what's being done to help them. That silence, it feels like an avoidance of true accountability. And then the PR, I mean PR over empathy. I think most of these influencers are afraid of cancel culture. If there was no cancel culture, or there were no accounts like TikTok accounts being banned, like for example CNN and Sima's accounts being banned, I don't think these guys were going to come forth. I think this was just for PR strategies to protect their brand, because the timing of the apology paired with their the short length of the apology and lack of follow-up action makes it feel more like a PR move than a genuine reckoning. And while she claimed to be betrayed by the agency not coming up, there is no mention of who hired her, no naming of agencies, no steps taken to help authorities to investigate. If you're really sorry, you don't just protect yourself, you help prevent others from falling into the same trap. So, like I said, let's talk about what the public said, because it was mixed. I looked at different social media platforms and I'm just going to summarize what I saw at top level. So, the public responded. Some fans were sympathetic. I mean, especially with Sima's apology, they said that, oh no, she didn't know better. She's still young. It's a learning curve. Others were saying, no, they treated her like everyone else. Others said, why attack her? Why are you attacking these influencers? And why not attack the Russian government? But no, majority, the louder crowd wasn't buying it. Online users, especially women, felt betrayed. Some of them asked, why didn't she do a simple Google research? Like, I mean, like, guys, if you're looking for reviews, let's say if you're buying even a hair product, if you look for reviews, you get all the information. You know, you look for a place where there are like 1,000 reviews, you scan randomly, you will get the information that this product is good or not. So I don't understand what quick research Sima did. I'm not sure, I'm not judging her because she said she did quick research. I mean, but why didn't she get like information of what's going on in there? I mean, guys, again, Russia, there is war there. Think of geopolitical risk. I mean, first things first, you think about the war, the conditions, and then why send girls between 18 to 22, young girls, and why not boys, guys? Food for thought. Let me hear what you think in the comment section. So again, the other question is, would these influencers have apologized if the media hadn't exposed it? Food for thought. On my side, I don't think so. They saw nothing wrong, even though there were a lot of red flags. And again, is this another example of influencers putting money over people? I mean, it's alleged that they were paid 150,000. And then for them to say they didn't know, hi guys, no. Putting money over people, that's selfish and dangerous. You know, this apology that CND didn't close the conversation, it fueled it. Because at its core, this wasn't just a personal mistake, it was harm multiplied by influence. You know, let's zoom out a bit. This isn't just about Sayan Bucci. This is about influencer culture in general and what happens when platform reach out past personal responsibility. So in 2025, lately, influencers aren't just entertainers, they are marketers, they are role models and lifestyle ambassadors. For millions of youth in South Africa and across the continent, they are a trusted source, sometimes more trusted than news outlets or officials. But that trust is being broken repeatedly. From crypto scams to fake giveaways to now this, an alleged trafficking operation. And if influencers don't change how they vet partnerships, the damage will only grow. You know. So, what would a real apology have looked like? Let's build it. For me, a real apology, I would have loved for there to be transparency. Like name the agency or the brand that hired you. Be specific. And I would have loved your apology to have empathy. Acknowledge that people might be harmed. Name them. Speak to them. Action as well. There should have been action after that apology. Work with authorities or advocacy groups to help undo the damage. And also reflection, owning up to your platform's power, say what you learned and what you'll do differently. Restitution, donate the money that you earned. I mean, it's alleged that they earned like 150,000. Donate it. Use your platform to educate, not deflect, like what Zion did. Now, that would be real accountability. Imagine if Zion had posted a video saying, I was wrong. I promoted something that might hurt people. I didn't do my homework and I failed my audience. Here is what I'm doing to fix it. That would have changed everything. That would have been a game changer. You know, let's be clear. Let's be very clear, guys. This isn't about cancel culture. It's about responsibility. When you have hundreds of thousands of followers, you hold more power than you think. One post could shape a life or endanger one. Cyan Bougie and other influencers made a mistake, and while she says she's sorry, the real test is, what does she do next? We as viewers also need to grow. Let's stop blindly trusting influencers and celebrities. Let's fact check. Let's ask the hard questions, even if it's uncomfortable. Influence is a privilege, and with it comes real world consequences. That's it for today's deep dive. If you found this video valuable, hit the like button. It helps more people find this video and learn. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, peace.